Hello there, YouTubes. Just a quick one, because I probably shouldn't be doing this. Bit angry, bit drunk, but
Hello there, YouTube.
and I've left the fucking bollocks. Right, yeah. I've been watching the Blaire White versus, well, not versus, as such, but the Blaire White and Lacey Green debate thing, and it's infuriated me because it's so obviously Lacey Green, an educated person who knows what she's talking about, against Blaire White, who's a fucking moron. A couple of things, a couple of points. Firstly, Blaire at one point says that if you're born a boy, you'll die a boy. You'll always be a boy. To which, Blaire, if that's the case, why do you ask people to call you female? Why do you present yourself as a female? Why do you like what? How are you a female then? How does that work? See, that's why people call you transphobic, because you basically deny the existence of trans people just in that alone. Fucking idiot. Um, and secondly, they get into this discussion for the. If you want to go and watch the thing, it's like 2 hours long. So, but if you wanted to go and watch it, you can. At one point, they get onto Blaire's bullshit about there being two genders. Now, again, this is where fundamentally, like the idea that Blaire is, oh, it's I'm for reals before feels. No, you're not. You're absolutely not. She does this very strange bullshit thing that she always fucking does, and she says, "Oh, there's only two genders," and Lacey Green, being educated on these topics, starts discussing, well, there are lots of different, variations and so on and so forth. There's more of a spectrum, and really sort of quite simple stuff. You would think, like, if you're a trans person, you would think you'd understand, at least that it's not a binary. Like, surely you must understand that. Like, it's anyway, it's infuriating. Anyway, yeah. And so she starts discussing this, and basically she starts to try and get Blaire to open up about this, right? And so she tries to get Blaire to concede the very, very basic point that even if you go by and Blaire gives these two definitions, and they're both not right at all. That there are at least three genders, because you have obviously male and female, and then you have intersex, right? Now, under both definitions that Blaire gives, intersex is a different sex. Okay, she starts going on about genitals at one point, right? Which we know that's not the same fucking this thing, but you can change that as obviously when you transition, trans people can change the genitals, and of course, gonads can be removed when people get cancer, right? So in that case, like if you have cancer and you have your gonads removed, does that mean you're no longer the sex you were, or the gender you were, whatever? Yeah, it's nonsense. And then she starts going about chromosomes. Now, chromosomes, well, for instance, most people don't even know what I don't know what my chromosomes are. I've never had them checked. Unless you have a problem with them, you never need to really get them checked. So I don't see that that's particularly relevant to, say, gender, for instance. That's essentially the vast majority of it is socially constructed. But under both of those definitions, right, I'll put this as bluntly as I can, Blaire. I don't know if she's ever going to see this or if she watches this fucking far, because I'm just drunkenly rambling, whatever. But Blaire, I'll put this as bluntly as I can for you, right? If an intersex person is born with a cock and a vagina, or some combination thing going on, right? I don't know, because she keeps saying deformity, which is pretty derogatory, obviously derogatory. But obviously there's a difference there, right? There's some combination. It's not strictly male or female genitals. There's a bit of both, and they're born with chromosomes that are not XX or XY, hence intersex, right? How the fuck is that not a third gender? How can that possibly be, given the definitions you have given? You have to concede that at the very least you need a third umbrella term for intersex. At the very, very least. You probably should have all kinds of different categories for different types of intersex, whatever, right? But at the very least you need a third one, because you do actually need, like, this is the thing. Lacey makes a very good point that if you're going to have an actual theory of gender, Which you do, because people are studying these things. Unlike you, Blaire, they're not just plucking shit out their ass, right? They're actually studying this. They've got some basic, or they're trying to get some, concept of some theory of what gender is and how gender works and all the rest of it. That if you're not going to include intersex people, then they're not. You don't have a complete theory. You have a massive hole in it. Which, yeah, I mean, they're relatively few people, but that still applies to millions of people around the world, even if it's a tiny percentage, right? That aren't fitting within those two, because you bought into this bullshit where you have to strictly adhere to two genders, even though that's clearly not fucking correct. And she then goes on. Lacey asks a very good question. How do you what's the gender of the people in question, intersex people? And she says, "Oh well, they'll decide that, blah blah blah." Well, then what you're doing is not arguing from biology, then, because she goes on about, oh, it's not socially constructed, or it's not, it's mostly biologically constructed. Well, how does that work if you're going to say, well, intersex people can choose what gender they want to be? That's not biological, then, is it? That's a social thing. Basically, Blaire, fucking educate yourself, because you've made yourself look a fucking idiot, and yet you're so totally convinced of your own correctness, even though you're so far wrong. It's untrue. It's frustrating, because you put out so much shit about trans people and so much shit about intersex people, and yet you're wrong about it all. It's fucking idiocy, and you're feeding lies to gullible pricks who want gullible, and I suppose most importantly, hateful pricks who want to be fed lies. You're acting as the token for these people to hate upon trans people, intersex people, whatever. And you should be fucking ashamed of that. Anyway, thought I'd bring that to you. I'll probably regret this in the morning when I wake up, but yeah, fuck it. Thank you all for listening and watching. Pip pip.